Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
8:07. It's our fourth hour here on this morning show, and I hope you're enjoying it so far. If you missed our first 3 hours, please subscribe to our podcast so you can get it all the time from Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. It's O'Connor and Company, and this morning it's me, Larry, and she, Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
I'm just checking in on your neighbors.
So far,
They're not doxing you like J.D. Vance and Pam Bondi and all the. She's been
not yet.
Absolutely unhinged on the good people of Alexandria this morning.
I'm unhinged. Okay.
Joining us right now is Nick Minock. Unhinged Northern Virginia lunatics. That's Nick Minock's beat over at WJLA ABC 7, and he covers it very well. Maybe I'm being uncharitable, Nick, but thanks for joining us either way.
Thanks for having me on. Good morning.
A lot to discuss. First, though, you have a response from the Education Department, just to get everyone up to speed if they're not paying attention. Those Northern Virginia school systems who were in violation of Title IX provisions with regard to bathrooms and locker rooms and gender policy, they have all now voted to stick with their policies and defy the Department of Education. So what's going to happen next?
That's right. So late afternoon, the U.S. Department of Education announced their first financial sanction against these 5 Northern Virginia school districts. We're talking Alexandria, Prince William, Arlington, Loudoun, Fairfax. And what this includes is they're going to be placed on high-risk status. So what that means is that if these school systems try to apply for discretionary grant funding, they're far less likely to get that grant funding from the Department of Education because they're on high-risk status. The other thing, which might be worse for these school systems, is that they'll be placed on a reimbursement payment plan. So that means these school districts will have to fund their expenses, they'll have to fund them themselves. Whoa. And then, then they'll have to submit their receipts to the feds. And then the feds will be able to scrutinize and analyze what these school systems are spending their monies on before the Department of Education hands them federal funding, if they do it at all.
That's going to be a cash flow issue. By the way, I think that's I think they should do that across the nation. Every school system do that. Would be a great thing. But
Nick, real quick, what do there's state funds that fund these schools, and that's the vast majority of it, but there are federal grants that come in, like you said, through reimbursement, or they can apply for these grants. But what do these grants or reimbursement, what do they generally pay for? What are the category of things?
Sure. So the big ones are Title I and Title VI. So in a nutshell, that's special education funding that goes to help educate kids who have special needs in these school systems. And then also schools that have a high percentage of students who come from poor families. They're at a higher risk of failing academically. And so those are the other funds that go to help these kids.
So, of course, you know what's going to happen, Julie.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I laid this out earlier, Nick. Are you starting to see from some of the superintendents, some of the local officials, are you starting to see this narrative of kids are going to starve, special ed kids are going to go without services? Are you starting to see that ramp up now? Of course, that could be reversed, that they are so committed to this ideology that they would risk hurting these kids. But of course, I think it'll sort of be in reverse, where these kids are going to be hurt because of the Department of Education. What is the messaging you're seeing?
Sure. So I would not be surprised, Julie, if we start to see that soon from these school systems. What I'm hearing at this point from the school systems is that they're defending their policies. They say they're inclusive, these transgender locker room, bathroom policies in schools. They say they're inclusive. They're starting the school year right now, and they say they're going to keep them in place. So that's where they're at right now as far as their narrative, the story that they're telling. They think these policies are a good thing. They also say that this follows Virginia state law and that Fourth Circuit Court decision from a few years ago. But I would not be surprised as time goes on and you start to see this funding potentially being cut or withheld. That's where the narrative starts going. But the U.S. Department of Education said, look, they could just say, hey, it didn't have to come to this. We warned you, and we told you way ahead of time what was going to happen.
Yes.
We're speaking with Nick Minock. And one last follow-up on this, and I know we got some other topics to get to, but is there an appeals process here? Do we expect these school systems to now, try to exercise that, lawyer up, try to fight this? What's next?
Okay, so this is interesting. So I asked the U.S. Department of Education yesterday, have they referred these school systems yet to the U.S. Department of Justice? That is one thing that Secretary Linda McMahon told us on 7 News she was going to do if they did not comply with the department's demands to get rid of these locker room and bathroom policies. They told me no. They have not yet referred these 5 school systems to the DOJ yet. Right now, what they're doing at the Department of Education is using their internal process when it comes to the money. So we'll wait and see. I think the court battle it hasn't started yet, but I do know these school systems certainly have lawyered up with outside counsel.
Yeah. Yes,
interesting. All right, follow up in Loudoun County now, Nick, where these boys who were recorded on a smartphone by a girl who identifies as a boy in a boy's locker room. That, by the way, is a violation of school rules and privacy for those boys in the locker room to be videoed like that. But it turns out that after the Loudoun County Public School System's investigation, they've determined to suspend the boys for bullying and harassment of this girl who was in their locker room. And from what we saw, Nick, all we know is that these boys were expressing their concern and their discomfort by having a girl in the boys' locker room. Is there more to this story that we haven't seen? Are the boys accused of doing anything other than that, or is that the extent of the bullying?
Sure. So the female student claimed in her complaint that the boys harassed her throughout the school year. And the parents, who are the parents of the boys, they have access to all the interviews that LCPS did throughout this process with witnesses or people close to the situation. And those parents tell me after reading all of the transcripts with the witnesses and the Title IX coordinator that there isn't anything that corroborated that claim from the female student. What we do have is that video. We know we're told there are other videos out there that have been deleted. I read one of the transcripts of the interviews that said that female student recorded one of the boys using the bathroom in the locker room. So LCPS, they say they sexually discriminated against this girl as well as sexually harassed her, so 10-day suspension. And this is kind of interesting. I was texting with a former school board member in Loudoun because I was just kind of curious, like, what does a 10-day suspension mean? Because there's long-term suspensions, short-term suspensions. What she told me is 10 days or less is considered a short-term suspension, which has far less due process required or right to appeal. So when they give 10 days, it's intentional to give the max without more due process, is what the school board member told me. And today at 1:30, the families of these boys, they're going to be holding a news conference in Loudoun County. We're going to be there, and we'll see what they're going to do. Are they going to appeal this? Are they going to announce legal action? So that's what's going to happen today.
Well, so how is all of this affecting the governor's race that's going on in the background of all these stories? One candidate is talking about these issues quite a bit. Her name is Winsome Sears. The other candidate, Abigail Spanberger, she's doing everything she can to avoid it. We're going to dive into that in 1 minute. First, though, it's 8:15 WMAL.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
And we continue with Nick Minock of WJLA. And as I just mentioned, the governor's race is going on. It sure seems like Abigail Spanberger is not commenting on these issues. I know that you've tried to get answers with regard to her position on these policies. And we haven't even touched on the allegations out of Fairfax County where a high school and employees of that high school apparently coerced and facilitated abortions for underage children without telling the parents. Good Lord, Nick, there's so much going on. Has Abigail Spanberger sort of planted her flag on any of these things?
No. No, she hasn't answered any of my questions. Now, on the locker room and bathroom policies that I sent to her campaign, I think 21 days ago today, still no specific answers to if she supports these school systems. Does she support their locker room and bathroom policies that allow students to use bathrooms and locker rooms based on their gender identity? Remember, she sent that general statement, her campaign spokesperson did, that said Abigail's top priority is the safety of children in part. But other than that, she hasn't commented. And I've been following up every day, every couple days, every few days to see if she has answers, along with asking her questions on that abortion scandal in Fairfax County Public Schools that's now being investigated by the Virginia State Police in a criminal investigation. She has not responded to those questions either. That specific question I had for her was this: if she's elected governor, does she think there needs to be legislation that she would sign that would require schools to notify parents within 24 hours if a student has a conversation with staff members at school about abortion services? That's the question we posed to her. She has not answered that so far.
Nick, we're talking a lot about federal action here and, Department of Justice trying to get control of Northern Virginia. Can you tell us a little bit about what the state has done? What has Youngkin done? What has Mayeris done? I know there are some investigations. I've sort of lost track of what investigations on which is. There's so many scandals I can't keep track. But what is the Youngkin administration and Mayeris, and what are they doing on some of these issues?
Sure. So a lot of parents are asking that, hey, we've had a Republican governor, a Republican Virginia attorney general, Republican lieutenant governor, yet these policies still exist 3.5 years later. What are they doing? And what I can tell you is they haven't stopped these policies because they do still exist. And it seems at this point they're referring it to the federal government. So I don't know if they're doing anything at this point in time that's new to get rid of these policies other than talk about them. I know that Sears has launched a number of investigations. Per the governor's directive, he investigated the locker room situation in Loudoun County, and then back in 2022, he investigated the sexual assaults that occurred in Loudoun County public schools. Other than that, just like, this, Julie, the policies still exist. They're still here. So I don't know what they're doing right now. We'll see if they have a new announcement, because this is certainly heating up now that the feds are involved.
Nick Minock is our guest. And Nick, one more question about the governor's race and sort of the Commonwealth, sort of the picture right now politically with all these stories you're covering. It does appear, based on a Roanoke College poll yesterday, that Winsome Sears has gained over 10 points from where she was in May. She was down in double digits, almost 20 points down from Abigail Spanberger. Now, according to this latest poll, she's within 7 points. Is there any way to know, and have you done is there any background on this poll that suggests that it's these issues that seem to have helped her along here and moved her campaign closer and closer within striking distance of her Democrat opponent?
I'm looking through the crosstabs of this poll, and it says that inflation is the number one issue for voters right now. Over half of voters said that's their main concern, followed up by crime, which was at 11%, and then followed up by abortion and then jobs. And so it doesn't say, it's 4 years ago, education was topping the list, right? Yeah. But in this specific poll, it's mainly saying the economy is the most concern for likely voters at this point in time. Now, the interesting thing about this poll, it was conducted between August 11th and August 15th. Winsome Earl Sears went up on air on August 14th on broadcast television because she decided to buy some ad time, get her name out there. So I'll be curious to see what the next poll says, because now that Winsome Earl Sears is on TV getting her name out, is it going to be even closer than what we see in this poll? I know Abigail Spanberger's team also went on the air. I saw some ads yesterday in Northern Virginia. So we'll see. I'm just really interested to see what the next poll shows.
By the way, real fast, Abigail Spanberger, of course, pulled out of that debate from CNN. She said she wanted to give deference to a Virginia broadcaster. You all are based in Virginia. Did she pick up the phone and call you, Nick?
So I know our team was working with a couple of other Virginia stations, and they were also working with AARP. And Abigail Spanberger, from what I understand, did agree to do that debate, and Winsome Earl Sears did not. And so that was not necessarily a debate just hosted by WJLA. It was a lot of other folks were involved too. But we do know with the CNN debate, I was a little surprised about that one, that Abigail Spanberger did not agree to that. I know a lot of Democrats who I speak to were surprised about that too. But hey, at least we've got a debate in October, right?
Yeah.
Nexstar is going to be hosting that one.
Yeah. Yeah, we will watch it with a keen eye, and hopefully we'll still be, maybe we'll have another debate, WJLA, Virginia-based. And I, of course, am the wine ambassador to the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I work for Town Hall, which is based in Rosslyn, so I'm a Virginia journalist as well. You and I think, could do a good job moderating that debate, Nick.
I think that'd be great. And I'll tell you what, WJLA is the only local TV station that is based in Virginia and the D.C. market. The other ones are in Maryland and D.C. We love D.C. and Maryland, too, but we're the only ones in Virginia based here.
WMAL's tower is in Woodbridge. This is a Virginia signal everyone's listening to us on right now. So we are ready, Abigail Spanberger. Give us a call. Thanks, Nick. Always great stuff.
Have a good day.
It is 8:24.